Welcome to Join the Watch, a Game of Thrones podcast by the Straits Times. I'm your host, Jonathan Roberts, and as ever, we're going in spoiler heavy. Before we go any further, don't forget you can win Game of Thrones prizes. Simply answer the question below. All prizes courtesy of HBO Asia. Let's meet our emissaries from the various kingdoms of ST. As ever, they may not come from Westeros or Essos, but they may have passed by Eunos. Fourth week going! We are joined by Sakthivel, Melissa, Heng, Olivia, Ho, and Jen Lee. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, after the thrill ride, the utter emotion of episode 3, we hit episode 4. Now, one of our members did say they were looking forward to many conversations. Sakti, you're the one who was looking for no action, all talk. How do you feel about episode 4?
I feel pretty good. Talking is where you get to see the plot, see things happen. Because the fights were great last week, but nothing really happened. One thing happened, let's be honest. But now, with all the talky bits, we have possibilities of various things happening.
Okay, give me your conversation breakdown. Who are the big conversations
I
this week?
think we start with the most important one, Jon and Dany. Also, the Stark kids finding out the big secret. And then we have Sansa's scheme in regards to the big secret.
As in Sansa can't keep a secret.
There's that, yeah. We have found out none of them can actually. 30 seconds in, don't tell anyone, don't tell anyone, okay, pinky promise. And then after that, we have Varys and Tyrion kind of scheming as well. Too keen on it, but
Treason, we can call it.
I feel it was just good planning. The last one we have, on the other side, we have Cersei, Euron, and Qyburn with their plans as well. So it gives us 3 of possibilities of things that could happen in the next 2 episodes.
Yes, it's only 2 episodes. Well, this episode wasn't just about talk. We did have a couple of action moments, including 2 big deaths. So, raise a glass to Rhaegal, the dragon, and, well, we called it quite a bit earlier, Missandei.
Of Naath. They never got to see the beach.
They never got to the beach.
They were never going to get to the beach.
Both of those deaths, they are very close to Daenerys, which brings us to the big issue. What do we do with a mad queen like Daenerys? Jan?
Tonally, this episode started with like a big funeral, and I was like having some tears there. Then straight away it became a frat party. Like it just became people celebrating and drinking.
It reminded me of being back in college.
Yes.
You know, people getting drunk, people hooking up, telling Jon to chug.
Yes. Telling Jon to chug.
And Daenerys off in the corner, like, you know, the
Yes.
girl that nobody wants to have lunch with in the canteen.
Because nobody likes her, but she was sitting by the side alone. She has no friends because all her friends are either hooking up or chugging. Then all hate her. Then but everyone pays her like base respect. They're just like, Your Grace, oh Queen, yay, you know. But nobody's actually talking to her. Everybody's crowding around Jon.
She tries to make an effort to get liked by
lauding Gendry.
Yes, she gives Gendry the lordship, but at the same time in a very sinister way that makes everyone think, is she about to execute him?
So that's a bit, a bit dicey, and like nobody really likes her. And then when she goes to find Jon, they have that big conversation about what they're gonna do with Jon's big Targaryen secret. They were gonna make out. Like they were like, Jon was like ready. Jon was like, yeah, tearing off the dress. And then she was like, no, we still need to talk about the fact that you kind of are a threat to my reign.
I think it sets up her, what she would do, how she would respond, right? The way that she acts in that scene where they're all celebrating, and you see that she recognizes that people respond to Jon. People are drawn to him, which is what Varys says later lah. But in that moment, she realizes that he's beloved and people follow him. Then
He does have a great hype man in Tormund.
In Tormund, yes.
Who is saying, he rode a
That's
dragon
amazing,
and he's been
right?
murdered and he's come back and he's amazing.
Correct. So I think that's when she's like, oh man, like he could really put a dent in her plans and take what is hers. She's got this whole entitlement thing going, and that leads to their conversation then in that room, right, where she's like, you can't tell people. You just cannot.
And Jon is like, are you asking me to keep a secret or tell a lie? Because that's not what I do.
That is the worst thing you could ask Jon Snow to do.
So are we all convinced that it's been what she's been thinking about the whole time?
That
She might have another obstacle towards her throne?
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Ever since he told her, she's been thinking, okay. The only thing that stopped her before was an onslaught from the White Walkers. That little thing kind of put a dent in her immediate schemes. Now that's been solved, she has to try and figure it out.
So
she asks him to, would you mind not telling people that you're more important than me?
So all this spiel about how, like, you know, I love your brother, he loves me, and blah blah blah.
She likes his butt. You know, like, I think she's into him,
Are
but
you
not
projecting
enough.
by any chance?
Yes. But not enough. Like, clearly she has that moment where he was like, we can live together. And it's just like, I just told you how.
Yeah.
And it's so menacing.
So I agree. I think that she does care about him as much as she can care about anybody. And I think when she told Sansa that she loves Jon, I think she was telling the truth. But now we can clearly see that she loves the throne a lot, lot more.
Yes.
And that this whole episode was really leading to the conclusion that, you know, we can see very clearly what motivates her now.
Well, it's how far she's going to go. Because now that she's lost Jorah, who was a good advisor, she already rejected Tyrion. Varys stands up to her and says, your plan is nuts, lady. And now she's lost a dragon as well, and nobody seems to be as cut up about her losing a dragon as much as she is. And now her options are to burn King's Landing to the ground.
Don't forget Missandei, who was her best friend.
Yes.
Yes.
And actually, I think that is the thing that most upset me about this episode, the death of Missandei. It was such
But we've been calling it for weeks.
yeah,
How
but
can
the
you be
way that it happened, it was so frustrating. And it was, for me, a classic example of the fridging trope that we see in a lot of superhero movies where, you know, a person, usually a woman, is killed so that for the sole purpose of advancing somebody else's revenge quest. And I think it makes it worse that Missandei was not only a woman, but she's also one of the 2 people of color left in the title credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Grey Worm is, you
I
know,
agree.
the only thing preventing Game of Thrones from being a total whitewash. So, and the optics are not good. And the fact that Missandei died in chains, which, you know, the
So
camera
sad.
focused on a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that she was born, she was made a slave and she thought she was free. But her final act was to die in chains and to urge Daenerys
Yes.
to burn
Burn
them
them
all.
all.
Burn them up.
Yes.
I have not seen a more classic example of fridging.
Yes. So that's a bit sad.
So I think they're 100% building up towards, you know, Mad Queen Dany.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
She's definitely
both,
in that territory now.
Yeah, both Cersei and Dany are both like mad queens. They're like mad queens facing off one another.
But I think one is clearly smarter than the other.
Yes, let's talk about the strategy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yes,
mean,
as far as strategy goes, we saw last week that their main strategy was to go headlong into the enemy without really thinking about it. Give some guys some swords with lights on them, send them in to
Into the dark,
into
into
the
stuff
dark,
they couldn't
into
see.
the zombies, and then as soon as they go out, just get on the dragons because dragons will solve everything. And now she's down to 1 dragon. Qyburn and Cersei have plotted to create these wonderful javelins things. They were called, Olivia?
Scorpions.
Scorpions.
Yes.
Scorpion javelins. So the scorpions took out Rhaegal in a shock moment as everyone's happily sailing at sea. Suddenly, the spears came out of nowhere.
Is that one thing Daenerys needs to keep a better eye on her dragons? She's just lost 2 of them because she wasn't looking.
yes, kind
Yes.
of. Even when she
Yeah.
was looking, it was like, whoa, you know, she was just like, whoa, where did that come from? Then it's died. Yeah, and it's not great. She should have rested.
Yes, so she didn't listen to Sansa when Sansa
Yeah.
said, rest your men. Not just my men, but your men. you
Rather than strategy, she took it as a personal affront.
know? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
She should have read one book about
After the
military
war,
planning. One book.
Someone should have given her
one.
Sun Tzu. Someone should have given her the Art of
In,
War.
in universe.
People in China are apparently saying that Daenerys should have read The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
I think that's lesson number 1. Chapter 1. Don't
Yes.
rush into battle.
Yeah,
Plan
exactly.
first.
Yeah.
Maybe you go and look what's out there first before you own self go. I
Yeah.
feel these would be like chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Which Cersei has. She now has a human shield of innocents that are going into the Red Keep, thinking they're going to be safe. And she has these amazing scorpion javelins that apparently reload really easily.
Yeah.
But for this one, I think they reloaded almost straight away because the moment she flew off, they started shooting at the ships.
And let's not forget this is Daenerys, who seems to have espoused the Jon Snow strategy of yelling and
Yes.
going against.
That also leads back to what she has kind of become. There's this overconfidence in what she deserves and what she rightfully should have. And I think, yeah, she's just very, very up there. She thinks that she has dragons, nothing can defeat them. So why not go
I
headlong
want
into
it, and I
battle?
want it now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas Cersei is definitely like playing the longer and smarter game, right? She's taken all this time that she has had, not fighting the White Walkers, to like super prepare herself for her own war, right? Getting the Scorpions, so many of them, getting the Golden Army, and then also playing this really intelligent but slimy card of getting all the innocents into King's
slimy card?
Landing.
Is
right?
that Euron?
Then there's that too, where
The slimy card.
she
Euron.
knows that she's pregnant, but she can't say it's Jaime's baby, so she definitely slept with him just so that she could say it's his baby instead,
Yeah.
which is just gross.
Which I think Tyrion kind of outed her on that a little bit when he started talking about the baby when they were negotiating.
Yeah.
From Euron's point of view, there is no way that Tyrion would have known. They have no way of communication. So Tyrion would not have known before they slept together. So I think Euron is probably suspecting something.
Yeah, because they
Yes.
showed us very specifically when like she tells him, and then he looks up at Qyburn, and then Qyburn goes, I've had a look.
So I feel like Euron probably now, there's like a little seed planted there that might not be your baby.
See, that's why I like this episode. I wouldn't say like it, that's a bit too much, but
Okay.
I feel that's what Game of Thrones is about, or was about up until maybe the 4th season or 5th season. It's all about all these fractures and stress points and people kind of distrusting each other and people making plans and people looking out for themselves and how all that interacted.
Well,
with-
in terms of distrust, we've now got Tyrion and Varys having long conversations. Possibly the longest conversation that Varys has had for many seasons.
For many seasons, yes.
Where Varys is pretty much, I think that Daenerys is mad, and we have to stop her somehow, because he's outright talking about, well,
Possibly assassinating her.
A
He's not
strong
talking
hint.
about it. He's not
Oh,
talking
no,
about it. He
yeah.
made a look that was like,
He was like,
pushing the conversation in
Yeah.
the assassination way.
And it's telling that probably in the last maybe 7, 8, 9 episodes, first time they've had a conversation and Tyrion hasn't brought up Varys's fruit and 2 veg.
Or lack of.
a little bit.
Okay,
He
like I did,
acknowledged
yeah.
the importance of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
so a lot of their conversation was centered around Jon being a Targaryen.
Yes,
Him
is he the better choice?
being a
Yes.
man, So now let's talk a little bit about how Jon handled this episode, because I honestly think he's a little bit of an idiot. Like, he's always
a little
asking.
bit.
He's
No,
a goober, like, he's
mostly
a
an
total
idiot.
goober.
Like,
The thing about this episode that set it up quite nicely for Jon, I think, is that this episode kind of showed how he's still in the running for some kind of leadership because he has claim now to the throne. I don't think that he will state that claim himself because Jon's not the type to rule. He clearly doesn't want the crown. But as Varys says, maybe the person who doesn't want it is the person who most deserves it and might do the best with it. And I think that it's clear from the episode also that Sansa believes that, and now Varys believes that as well. So these two players, right, could very well push Jon more into the game and push him to somehow embrace his destiny.
He's not going to embrace it. It's the thing he wants least of all. The irony is that if he ends up king of the 7 kingdoms, he doesn't want it.
Yeah,
It's
but
going to be a
he's never
painful thing
wanted
for him.
leadership. Correct.
Yes.
So he's never wanted leadership, but he's always done well when it has been thrust upon him.
I'm just gonna
Come on.
say.
He has.
He's
He
done
has.
well enough, I think.
Well
maybe
enough.
to
Well enough.
appease
Okay.
you. And
He's
I think
done
it's
well
always
He
enough.
can
been,
rally people together.
Yes. He can rally them together, but he cannot actually make good plans. I mean, Battle of the Bastards, Sansa had to come in and
Yeah.
save him. Like, he will be a kind king. I think there's no doubt he'll be a benevolent king, but he'll be a dumb king, guys.
Yeah,
he
so
needs
that's why
Sansa.
he has people like Sansa and Varys who will back him up.
Yes, so maybe I think there's a good chance that basically this whole Jon versus Dany, who's better to rule thing, is gonna like really play out in the last few episodes. I think after they settle the threat of Cersei and Jaime, who might be coming to kill her. So,
Yeah.
Jaime.
Okay,
Jaime.
Yeah,
which
Jaime,
brings
Jaime.
us to any other business. Now, in the world of shipping in Game of Thrones, two big events happened in this episode. Genya was shot down dead by Arya. So Gendry, feeling flushed now, has been made Lord of Storm's End, goes to find Arya in the stables where she's playing with a bow and arrow. And he gets down one knee,
Poured his heart out.
poured
Be
his
my
heart out.
lady.
The fool.
He was.
And he pledges, I'll be Lord of Storm's End, you be a lady, at which point she says, it's not you, it's me.
Yes.
And kills all thoughts of Genya dead.
The
Which,
ship sinks.
yes, the ship has sunk.
She did the deed, and she was like,
Yeah, that's
I'm
all
good.
I wanted.
I'm
Yeah.
out of here.
That's all I wanted.
That's all I wanted.
A proposal.
Last scene riding off with the Hound in a kind of, almost like a bromance for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like a big brother,
Yeah.
you know.
It's very sweet because they left.
Yeah, that's how they did. That was one of my favorite parts of season 2. Actually, the two of them going on this slightly murderous road trip, eating chicken.
Yes, yes.
Such a bonding thing to do.
Yes.
Wandering around, killing people for chicken.
Down King's Road.
And of course, the other big ship, and the biggest ship of all, physically, is Brienne and Jaime. During the frat party that follows the funeral, during a game of, or a version of, Never Have I Ever, Tyrion taunts Brienne, at which point she gets up to leave, and then Jaime follows.
Jaime stands up to Tormund.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Jaime stands up
That
to
was just
Tormund.
an amazingly comical and also just so.
And it wrapped that story up in a bow because everybody was like, oh, Tormund's into her.
Yeah.
And then Tormund stares at Clegane and it's like, Clegane, my heart is broken. And it's like touching him.
Don't touch me.
It's like, don't touch me. It's great.
Which brings it back to what Olivia said, which is like, it's like every student party
Yes.
you've ever been to.
And with the bad pickup lines as well. Jaime's lines so bad.
Okay.
He was like, "Oh,
So
it's
warm
so
in
hot
here."
in here. Is this
Yeah.
Game of
Taking off my
Thrones or is
coat.
this a Nelly song?"
There was a
Remind me
very
of-
drama moment where he was like fiddling with his shirt
Yes.
and she's like, okay, I will help you.
It's so K-drama. It just reminded me of all the K-dramas that I've
Yeah,
watched.
all the tropes.
Where the guy and the girl are like, and then like they start, getting into something. It was completely K-drama. It was a bit out of left field for Game of Thrones, actually.
Yeah.
I felt so odd.
It wasn't the most comfortable viewing, it has to be said. But, at the same time, it didn't end that happily for them. After a few nights of pleasure, well, that old spectre of Cersei comes up again for Jaime. At which point he says he's off. And Gwendolyn Christie's acting comes back in with a really heartfelt moment.
Yes, I really, really like that moment between them. I mean, you can see so much emotion on her face, and she knows what he's doing. She knows that he's going back possibly to either fight against Cersei or to save Cersei. We're not very sure yet.
It can't
But
be
she
safe, Cersei,
knows-
at this point, can it?
No, I don't
It may
know.
be going down there to reason with her,
Yes,
but I don't think saving her is there.
right.
Or his baby. I think he still
Oh,
cares a little bit
yeah,
about his
could
baby.
be.
Does he
Yeah.
know
we're
about the
not
baby
sure.
though?
He knows about
He
the
knows.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not sure exactly what he has decided to do, basically, right? But she knows he's going back and he's more or less likely to die. So she's like, please don't go back. And that's just like such a nice moment, I think, for her character.
Can I do a short shout out, brief shout out to Ghost?
No.
You're lovely, and I'm very upset that Jon didn't even give time to give you a pet before he disowned
shared a
you.
look.
I'm
They
sorry,
shared
a
a
look
look.
is not enough.
That's
your
all they
dire wolf.
need.
I'm sorry, I'm just very upset. And what happened to Ghost's ear?
Ghost was one of the first to go into the zombie hordes.
And came out alive, and this is the best you can do with Ghost.
He's gonna be free
going
now.
in
I think
Those
worse than the
better
petting. They haven't even
Yeah.
bothered to clean him up, which is like not good housekeeping.
Well,
your damn direwolf before you say
No.
goodbye to it forever.
on other
Just give him a
goodbyes,
little ruffle.
it's also goodbye to Tormund, it seems. On a very,
Yes.
we're down to 2 episodes now, so you've got to expect that some
Of the characters.
threads are going to be ended quite suddenly. And it seems for Tormund, who's decided, I'm not in this fight anymore,
Yeah.
I'm back off to the freelance. Farewell, Tormund.
Yeah.
What
We
an
love to.
adventure it's been. What stories you've said. What
Giant's milk.
horn drinking etiquette you've shown us.
Yes. He's a good man. Tormund's a good man.
Yeah.
We love
He's a
Tormund.
great guy. He's got a great stare as well. Good eyebrow action.
Is Sam out of the story?
Sam also seems to have decided to go off, and he's
Yeah.
off to
They didn't quite say.
didn't say.
I kind of assume Old Town.
Old Town,
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
the Meisters.
Yeah, to go and like read his books.
Yeah,
And-
but I think Sam also
you know.
has.
Take care of his new baby. There's a new baby. So.
Yes.
So I think Sam has kind of played his part. Same with Tormund. I mean, they were there to fight with Jon. Sam was there to tell Jon who he really is.
So we're going to be dropping quite a few people
Yeah.
coming up. I
They've
think.
wrapped up, I
I think you know. I think this is where people have got to accept that people's stories will just stop now. There's only 2 episodes left. Next week looks like it's going to be another big battle for King's Landing.
Yeah.
So much to do in 2 episodes. Okay, guys, predictions for what we're going to see. Sakti?
I think the big one is going to be, at some point, Jon is going to be pushed to kill Dany because of the decision she makes, decision she's about to make. Something terrible is going to happen, so for the greater good, he's going to have to kill her.
That will require some acting,
I think they'll manage it. They'll manage.
if you can manage it. Okay, Melissa?
For me, what I really want to see is the Lannister siblings. So they're all coming together. Jaime's on his way to King's Landing. Tyrion and Cersei are already there. And there's that big prophecy of Cersei being killed by a younger brother. So
So who's your favourite for that?
I
Jaime,
think
you
Jaime
like?
should do it.
Okay. Olivia?
I think Daenerys is going to kill 10,000 people in King's Landing, and that is what is going to drive Jon to have to finish her off in the end.
I'm pretty much with that. And Jan?
I think Tyrion's this close to turning on Dany. You can tell that he's tempted. You can tell that he's really thinking about it, and I think he is this close to committing treason. And I'm very looking forward to the moment he turns. Varys is turn liao. He's over. He's turn over. He turned liao.
Varys
He's
Team
done.
Jon.
Yeah.
My personal prediction is that not everything will have a neat bow on top of it, and many fanboys will be very upset at loose threads that are still left at the end of the series. But that's how these things are. So do join us again after episode 5 for more Join the Watch. And until next time, Vala Mogulis.